We need to make sure and be diligent that A, the federal government pays to rebuild Puerto Rico the same way they doing in Texas, the same way they doing in Florida, and B, that our family members know that they shouldn't sell out on pennies for the dollar in their property, and that we are not going to allow for people to take our island away from us.
From New York and on the new Hot 97 app, Ebro in the morning on Hot 97.
Ebro in the morning. Laura Stiles was happening. Rosenberg and the Bronx Borough president. Ruben Diaz Jr. on Ebro in the morning. We always got to say the junior?
Yeah, please, because there's another Ruben Diaz, a senior. He's also in politics, been around for a long time, even though I was elected before he was. but our views are a little different. So,
really?
Yeah. You know, my father is a reverend, so on social issues, he's conservative.
Yeah.
And I'm progressive, so it's always good. We don't want people to get them mixed up.
What are the holidays like at the table? Mom is like, yo, everybody shut up and eat.
So my parents have been divorced for quite some time. All of the grandkids are adults. I have two sons. One is already graduated 2 years ago from Boston College. My youngest son, my wife and I, our youngest son is a senior at Temple University. So everyone is political, and we all go, and Dad goes to Mom's house. And it usually starts, Ebro, with, you know, the pleasantries, hey, this and that, and then all of a sudden, bam, whatever the issue of the day, the question comes up, and everyone, we run the gamut from every part of the spectrum on policing issues, on education, on immigration. My sister's a retired NYPD sergeant.
Wow, so y'all get it popping.
Yes.
Wow, that is a festive household.
My father is someone who hasn't supported marriage equality. His oldest granddaughter, my niece Erica, is openly gay.
Wow.
You know, so
you
got everything.
Yeah.
So we're here today because Saturday, we're all getting together up in the Bronx. We will be asking the whole community, tri-state, anybody that could get up there to bring essentials. Explain to us how this came together in the Bronx, because I know you want to give the proper due to the people who
and
helped.
explain what essentials is also.
Yes,
right, absolutely. So, yes, it's important for people to know that even though the hurricane hit last week, that Puerto Rico is in dire need of assistance, all kind of assistance. And since the first day, we saw and heard from a lot of people who have businesses in the Bronx. You know, the Bronx is a borough of 1.4 million, 400,000 are Puerto Ricans. So being the borough with the highest concentration of Puerto Ricans, we were receiving a lot of calls. I own this bar. I'm from this school. We're collecting. But what do we do with it? And I didn't really want to be a part of raising cash money. And so I said, the best thing to do is to work with the Puerto Rican government, work with the government over here, the National Guard, FEMA, and have a direct line with the ministers from over here and ministers over there so that we can ship things over. And so we said what we said is on Saturday on Southern Boulevard in Aldous, everyone just bring your things and we'll take care of the rest. We'll put them on containers, we'll put them on trucks. And by the way, we're also helping our brothers in Mexico.
Yeah.
So a couple of these trucks are going out to Mexico. So we said, bring them over here. We're not asking anybody for a nickel, even though the shipping over there costs money.
Yes.
But we had an angel call me and said, Ruben, I'll pay for everything. You guys just handle the logistics. And that was my man, my brother, Fat Joe.
Fat Joe.
And so shout out to Fat Joe.
Wow.
He says, look, I'll pay for 5, 10. You know, a container costs anywhere between $4,000 and $6,000 from A to Z, from renting it, placing it on the street, to picking it up, shipping it over there, and dropping it off over there. So he says, no matter how many containers, I got the cost. And so we're starting out with 3, and we have trucks also for Mexico. And so, Joe, not only that, Puerto Rico is an island of 3.5 million. People fail to realize as well that there are 2 smaller islands that are also part of Puerto Rico. That's Vieques, which I frequent, and Culebra. The hospital in Vieques does not have any power. Joe bought 2, not 1, but 2 generators, giant generators that we're shipping out directly to the hospital in Vieques.
Wow. That is
amazing.
It's incredible. Now, when you say shipping, we just saw this morning Donald Trump said that he was, it was not repealing, but postponing, moving, getting the Jones Act out of the way.
Right.
Can you articulate the truths about what has made things so difficult in getting things to Puerto Rico, and kind of where you see this going in the future, too, because this Jones Act has been a contentious conversation?
So Puerto Rico is not a state. And that's a conversation, a political conversation that's been ongoing for many, many years on the island. There's essentially three different parties: statehood, status quo, which is the way that it is now with Commonwealth status, or independent, become an independent country. I don't want to get involved in the politics right now, even though I am a statehooder.
Okay.
Okay, we can have that conversation. Right now is the time for all of us to get together. But the fact that we're not a state, you have some laws and some acts, one of them being the Jones Act, which was passed in 1920, which essentially says that if you have a foreign ship coming into the United States that is not contiguous with the United States. So if you have
it's not a U.S. ship.
And it's not a U.S. ship, so Hawaii, Guam, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico, that you have to have things that are delivered to those places on U.S.-made ships. So what happens is whenever you have goods that are coming in from Europe or Asia, and they're supposed to be going to Puerto Rico, guess what happens? They have to go to Florida first. Then you transport everything, and then you send it to Puerto Rico with a U.S.-made ship. That's what the Jones Act says.
Which is cost. I mean,
it's costly. It's costly. And so what's going to happen? The shipping industry, those who are selling the goods, they're going to pass off those costs on the consumer. And so what we're saying is, at the very least, the same way that it was done in Texas, that it was done in Florida, suspend the Jones Act. At least I believe the Jones Act should be done permanently.
Period.
But suspend it now. And unfortunately, it took him a week. He gets it. He gets something now.
Rihanna tweeted. Rihanna tweeted, and that ass was like, "Yep, Jones Act. I don't need that heat."
Right.
So right now, it's postponed just temporarily.
We don't know for how long. I haven't read his decree. This happened less than an hour ago.
Yeah.
It just said effective immediately.
But it's effective immediately, but we don't know for how long. But that will go a long way, so that other countries who want to send direct produce or supplies to Puerto Rico can do so in a costly fashion and in an efficient, time-efficient way.
So I guess the other piece of this conversation, and we talked about it this morning, is the Jones Act is the first step to making things move better, faster, easier. There is the reality that things have, FEMA, I've heard, turn people away because you can't just show up to a natural disaster and just start running around handing things out. It has to be organized. You have to make sure things are safe so that more people don't get hurt when they show up. So that's been a piece of, I'm sure, the holdup as well. Would you like to?
Yeah, this is the reason why we organized Saturday. Again, a lot of folks don't know how to go about this. We've done this before with the Hispanic Clergy Organization, with elected officials. We've did this with for instance, during the earthquake in Ecuador that happened last year, a year and a half ago. We've done this with hurricanes in the DR. And so we have direct connections with the governments over there and with the federal government over here that would allow us to ship. Folks who want to do something, and because of the anxiety levels, and coupled with the fact that they're not hearing from their family members, you need to realize that you have to stay calm. The best thing you could do now is just to collect the essentials, and we'll talk about what those are. But going over there, you're going to get in people's way. I haven't gone over there yet. Why? Because you have to allow for the experts, the professionals, people who are trained in recovery, people who are trained in rescue, people who are trained in there are wires, there are phone wires down all over the place, and there's stagnant water. You don't want people getting electrocuted. If the wire is live, we know that there's no electricity over there, but in some areas, either there is electricity or they're about to turn on the electricity, and so you don't want these mistakes to happen. So I would suggest that people just, hold on, don't go over there. There's no need, and even if you get over there, even if you go to the airport in San Juan, where are you going to go after that?
Well, there's people stuck at the airport.
They've
been there for a week.
There are roads that are down. I have, for instance, I have family in Ponce. I have my aunt in the mountain. One of my aunts has a coffee farm in the mountain of Ajuntas. And we haven't heard from both my aunts who are stuck up there because of mudslide and because of downed trees. You just can't get through certain roads. So and that's not even mentioning the fact that there's not enough gas. So there's not enough cars. If you have family members in Caguas, which is in the south, and you go to San Juan, let's just say that flights are there. How do you get from San Juan to Caguas after that? So you're making a mistake if you think that you can go over there Right now, our job is to send things over. What we need from President Trump, what we need from the federal government is more boots on the ground. We need the military. We need a 5-star general. FEMA, who's there, is doing the best they can with what they have. There are 2,500 men and women of our military down there, but we need thousands. This is not regional. This is the entire island. This is 3.5 million people all have been affected in one way, shape, or form. Either surge from the ocean, of overflow. In some parts of Puerto Rico, they had over 30 inches of rain in 2 days. You have bridges, old little bridges that are no longer exist, so you can't even get to those areas. You need helicopters. You need amphibious units. You need ships from the Navy. That's what we need right now, so that as we are doing our part, and everybody is, God bless. It's just amazing, the outpour of support from not just the Latinos, not just Puerto Ricans, not just in the Bronx, but our African-American brothers and sisters, Muslims and Jews from everywhere. In Brooklyn, the Jewish community in Brooklyn, oh my goodness. Shout out to David Greenfield and Carmen Yeager and all those guys. It's just been amazing. But what we need is for, once our things get over there, how is it that we disperse them? The last thing I want to say on disbursement is that Saturday is not the only day. That's just something that we started for that one day. We've been working with Governor Cuomo, who's been phenomenal as well, and the National Guard. You can go to ny.gov/Puerto Rico. I'm going to say that again. ny.gov/Puerto Rico. And on there, you'll see the different locations that he assigned. Javits Center's in Manhattan. In the Bronx, you have Roberto Clemente State Park. You have the DMV on Fordham. And there's sites all over the city and throughout the state. You take your stuff there, because this is going to be an ongoing effort. They'll wrap it up, the National Guard, and thanks to JetBlue, they'll fly it over.
So what are essentials? Let's get to that for Saturday. Again,
people, and that's an excellent question, Rosenberg. People want to give, and it's not what you want to give, it's what they need.
Right.
Right? So they need batteries. They need water. They need toiletries, especially feminine hygiene products.
We need diapers.
They need diapers. They need wipes. They need towels. They need generators if you can afford them, small, big, whatever. They need flashlights. They need lanterns if you have them. And so these are the things that we hope. If you're going to send clothes, make sure that you itemize it in size order. Make sure that you itemize it in gender order so that it's not just one big mess. When you go over there, then you have a big pile of clothes, and it just becomes rags, and it's dirty, and nobody wants them, and then it just becomes a waste. So those are the things that we're looking for right now. This is what they need right now. With regards to our Mexican brothers and sisters, their needs are different. So if you're coming to help out and support the Mexican community on Saturday, they need cots, they need tents, they need cribs, they need mattresses. They have water, they have food. Because, obviously you can get to folks, but many of these structures over there have been affected in such a way that people just can't be, it's not safe for them to be back in their homes, so they're out in the street. What are they sleeping on? They're sleeping on the floor.
So that's why you need the cots and the mattresses,
Right.
the tents.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know we are grateful that we're making progress. Maria tore through Puerto Rico 8 days ago?
8 days ago now, yeah. Last week, Wednesday morning.
And so
9 days ago.
even when we dealt with Katrina, which was the first time in my life I saw a natural disaster and really was able to pay attention to how long it actually takes for the water to recede and FEMA to get in there and things to start moving. People are displaced from their homes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people can't go back to their homes. And I know that's kind of the second conversation. In your experience being down in Puerto Rico, after we get through this, my big concern over the last few days was like, I feel like Trump and his cronies might try to take this island on some real corporate bully shit as they go to financially rebuild it from Puerto Ricans because of the infrastructure problems, because of the debt, because of political bullshit. And, I know how we saw it happening with Katrina. We're going to see it happen in Houston, right? Where the poor people who, didn't own their land or don't own their homes get pushed out and they have to find somewhere else to live.
Whoa, that's such a loaded question, right? And I think you're on to something. The fact is that when you look at Hurricane Irma, which, by the way, Puerto Rico was also affected by.
Yeah.
In fact, even while she was hurt during that first hurricane, they were able to have about 3,000 people from the Virgin Islands, namely St. Martin, come and stay at the hotels, and then Maria hit. But Puerto Rico's been going through an economic hurricane for years now. And the debt, so I don't know if the listeners have been versed on the debt of Puerto Rico, but they have a $73 billion debt. That is a lot of money. And so what happens is, in order for you to do things, you bond things out, and that's called borrowing. That's what government does. Puerto Rican, regardless of party, even the party that I identify with, governors have been borrowing and borrowing and borrowing, and we all know that's not sustainable. In our households, you can't continue to borrow, and if you don't make the money to pay back that debt. So what happens is now you had vulture hedge fund folks who have been paying, who have bought those notes, and the bond notes have matured. And so even though they only paid 35 cents on a dollar on that loan, they want 100 cents on that dollar.
They want all the money from that bond.
They want all the money. And so they bought it from somebody. They say, okay, I know that this doesn't mature for another 15 years, and you paid, $100 for it. I'll give you 35 cents now. They wait for it to mature, and a lot of those notes are maturing. And so they're saying, okay, now I want $100 for my $100. What Puerto Rico has been saying is, we don't want a buyout. We don't a bailout. I'm sorry. We don't need a bailout. We need to be allowed to classify as bankruptcy. And I know this is all technical, but this is important.
It's very important.
It's important to the point you brought up. We don't have enough money for our schools. We don't have enough money for our hospitals. And so the hedge funds are saying, no, we want our money, our money, our money. So the feeling now is that because of the hurricanes, this push out of folks, this anxiety of the future, the exodus already for the last 3 years, we've seen 100 people a day leaving Puerto Rico, an average of one doctor a day for the last 3 years leaving Puerto Rico. So once upon a time, the poor people left Puerto Rico, my grandmother and those folks in the 50s, to come here for a better life. Now we have the inverse. We have the professional class leaving. So there's no revenue base to even pay for the debt. And so now we're seeing the vultures circling and flying around and the sharks swimming around. And so we need to make sure and be diligent that A, the federal government pays to rebuild Puerto Rico the same way they're doing in Texas, the same way they're doing in Florida, and B, that our family members know that they shouldn't sell out on pennies for the dollar in their property, and that we are not going to allow for people to take our island away from us.
It's very important.
Because maybe this hurricane for these guys has sped up the process.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that for several days. Thank you for our... I think the audience, I think they get it. I think,
And I think it's actually kind of straightforward, especially because we saw it in Katrina so blatantly of where people get pushed out because obviously their homes get messed up, et cetera, et cetera. It's such an easy opportunity to change a city. Imagine, we saw it here with Sandy.
I said when Sandy happened, people was mad at me. I was on the radio. I was like, guys, I hate to break it to you. They're not going to let you go back home to public housing in Coney Island.
Mm-hmm.
It's
They're
going
going
to
to use it as an
forever.
opportunity to change it.
They're gonna ask you to move because of mold and things that are unsafe, which are clearly unsafe, and that will no longer be your home. They're gonna convert those into condos on the beach, and that's you been to Coney Island lately?
I haven't been there since. No, I got to go out there.
It's different. It's very changed.
Wow.
It's very changed.
So I think that the first thing that you're gonna get from folks over here is I need to get my abuelita, my aunt, my mom out of Puerto Rico, and then after a while they're gonna say, oh well, let's just sell the house. Don't do it. That's the conversation that we're going to have as a community moving forward.
Yeah, because it's that time in where you have rich people looking for other revenue streams outside of the United States and around the world, which is why a lot of people voted for Donald Trump, is because they knew if they got Donald Trump in office, he would help rich people get richer. Where you, Ruben Diaz, how did you feel about the whole Puerto Ricans for Donald Trump movement?
I didn't really see it. I mean, obviously, there's some Puerto Ricans that are Republican.
Yeah.
I think that at least here in the continental United States, the overwhelming majority of Puerto Ricans and Latinos voted for Hillary Clinton. I was a big Hillary Clinton supporter. And, I hope that those who were hoodwinked by candidate Donald Trump and who bought into the circus-like atmosphere, I hope that now they see that this is not a game, and that when he is speaking and vilifying the immigrant population, when he's vilifying Muslims, when he's spewing sexist comments on women, I hope that if you did support him, that you are repenting, that you know that you made a big mistake. And so, we have him now in the White House. I would hope that he and those who supported him would see, for instance, that the Latino community, the immigrant, look at the Bronx. The Bronx is a borough of 1.4 million. 41% of the people in the Bronx were born in another country. The Bronx is one of probably the only or one of 3 counties in the state of New York where the majority of the people who live there are Latinos, and they're immigrants. But even though life isn't perfect, we're the safest Bronx that the world has seen in 50 years. We've seen our economy boom, $12.7 billion private dollars invested there. Jobs have been created where we cut unemployment by more than half. And so, yeah, we thank the NYPD, but we have a law-abiding citizenry now. We have jobs that are created by the Dominican community, the Mexican community, Ecuadorians who have small businesses. And so, I hope that those who want to vilify and try to divide and spew bigotry, they see an area like the Bronx that was, for many, many decades, the example of urban decay, which is now experiencing a huge renaissance with very little gentrification like you see in other boroughs. I'm not saying that it's not happening, but it's very little gentrification that's going on, that they would see the Bronx as an example of the benefits that we can have thanks to the immigrant population.
How do you as a borough president fight that gentrification? How have you...
It's something that weighs on me every single day.
And by gentrification, obviously, a lot of people, when you say it automatically you put a white face associated. It's like white people moving in. That's not always the case. Sometimes it's just wealthier people moving in and buying up stuff. It
should be wealthier people. In some cases, and I would say this, and even in my borough, it's become a sort of a code for no white people. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate. But so how do we combat and how do we deal with gentrification? In the last 8 years, we've seen 29,000 units of housing. The majority of them have been low income or affordable. But we also see that when we provide for that housing, that we needed to look at our working professional. When I was young, people, and a lot of my peers in school, they got an education, but they were told, get an education, get your career, and get out of here.
Right.
That's no longer the case. So fast forward now, I have 2 sons. One is 25, graduated from BC, doing programming and coding, doing well. When he wants to leave the nest 2 years ago and he started looking at apartments, he was making, quote, unquote, too much money for the low-income units, the low-income affordable units. So how do we make a space for that skilled professional workforce without people feeling like this is for somebody? We're not talking about luxury housing here. I think that we need to do better by educating New Yorkers on the formula of area median income and how that relates to affordable housing and the different levels, the different bands, income bands. But there's so many young professionals that are now in the Bronx that we need to keep there who want to stay. We have to create jobs, and we've been doing that. Again, we were at 14.2% unemployment when I first started at Borough Hall. We have 5.8, maybe 6% now. So more than half. We have and if you're an economist, maybe unemployment numbers mean nothing because that just means that some folks are getting off the rolls. No, we have the largest workforce participation, hard numbers, in the history of the Boogie Down Bronx.
Wow.
So 100,000 more Bronxites are working today. Now, how do we get them the necessary salaries? How do we train them? We've been fighting the good fight on the increase for minimum wage. We've been getting tech industry to come to the Bronx. Tourism is up 14%. So you got to create housing, you got to create the jobs, and you got to do so with the right salary so people can afford to stay there.
Ruben Diaz Jr. is his name. You've been Bronx Borough president for how long now?
This is my 8th year, and I'm in the process. I just won the primary, and hopefully in November they'll elect me to my 3rd term.
Wow. And how do you feel about de Blasio being reelected? What's that relationship between you guys?
My job as the borough president over the last 8 years, whether it was Bloomberg or de Blasio, is to make sure that my borough is okay. And that means that there are times that you work with the mayor, with de Blasio, we work more times than not on issues of affordable housing, job creation, making sure that we continue to fight crime where in areas and pockets where life isn't so perfect and it's still tough, making sure that we have things like universal pre-K and even 3K now. And so we've been able to do that. Where I needed to be critical, I have been. I support his reelection. I'm a Democrat. I believe that we need to do more, however, in things like homelessness. How do we cite them? How is equitable throughout the city of New York? And I look forward to continue to work with him.
Ruben Diaz, myself, Laura, you coming up Saturday? You'll be up there because I know you got another thing in the Bronx.
I will. But
Rosenberg,
I'll be
you making it
there.
out on Saturday?
No, it's Jewish holiday. I'm home fasting.
What's your holiday?
Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippur. Oh, that's a big day.
That's the only
lot of.
Yeah, it's when fraud Jews like me. It's the only day I'm in synagogue all year. So
No, we'll be there.
Send us some blessings.
I'll send you more than blessings. I'll send you goods as well.
We appreciate
that. Yes, I'll do that as well.
Ruben, what about people who want to volunteer?
Yes, we can certainly use the muscle. And so if you come to that corner of Aldous Street and Southern Boulevard at 10 o'clock. So we want to receive folks starting at 12. So it's from 12 to 5 that we'll be receiving goods. But if you go out there at 10 o'clock, we'll give you an orientation. We'll give you T-shirts. We'll be feeding, thanks to Havana Cafe, Bronx Havana Cafe. We'll be feeding our volunteers. We can certainly use the muscle from unloading to unloading cars to putting things inside of the trucks and inside of our containers.
And also, I think it's very important to not only log on to nyc.gov/Puerto Rico, but also the conversation around financial donations, because you said clearly, look, let's do the goods thing, and that I don't want to, and that's because there's been over the last, unfortunately, so many natural disasters that the Red Cross isn't doing their job. You know, they've been kind of exposed to what their business is about. I saw Mark Anthony supporting the First Lady of Puerto Rico with United for Puerto Rico.
You have the Hispanic Federation. And even on that site with the governor's site, he has also a place where you could donate.
So you do encourage donation. You do what? Because I encourage, I've said this. Look, don't be critical of all places. Donate to something that feels good to you. Because just criticizing everyone and doing nothing isn't a
I'm not criticizing anybody. All I'm saying is that I don't want to be, directly involved in raising monetary funds. I think that everybody has their lane.
Yeah.
My lane is to make sure that the federal government expedites boots on the ground over there, using my government ties. My lane is to try to make sure that people who are collecting tangible items, that we get them over there and we ship them over there. But yes, I do. If you bring one bottle of water, bring it. If you're going to donate $1, donate $1. Puerto Rico needs everyone's help, and we cannot we cannot allow for personalities or ideology or ego to get in the way. This is all hands on deck, and it means that if you are a multimillionaire like J-Lo and you did $1 million, God bless you. Thank you, J-Lo. If you do like Fat Joe and you decide that your money is better spent on equipment and paying for the shipment, he's been an angel. And if you think that the best way that you don't have any money, you don't even have water, but you want to come in and volunteer and just and help us unload and load, we can use that too.
Ruben Diaz Jr., thank you, son. Give it up for him. Saturday, we'll see y'all up there.